all for being here today. We're here today to talk about the sales tax increases that go into effect today. They are part of the Republican leadership's budget that was adopted last fall. And we want to ensure that the public is aware of the costs of these increases and the long-term consequences they will have on our state's economy. The recent recession left a deep impact on North Carolina. The causes of the recession are varied and complicated. The solutions to seeking a full recovery, likewise, will require progressive changes to our system. Quick fixes and oversimplified tax plans are short-sighted and harmful to the long-term livelihood of North Carolinians. That is the fundamental difference between Democrats and Republicans leading our state today. We're focused on how these bills and these tax increases affect middle-class families, small businesses, and regular, hard-working North Carolinians. Republicans, on the contrary, have consistently picked against the middle class and smaller businesses, ensuring their burden while giving tax breaks to giant corporations and those at the top. Starting today, life gets a little more expensive for families in North Carolina. Republicans have raised taxes on car repair and maintenance, computer repair, and dozens of other day-to-day services. This places a new burden on middle-class families who are already feeling left behind. On the Republicans' majority's watch, wages have stagnated, and North Carolina families have struggled to recover from the recession. Most families still feel insecure, and this is exactly the wrong time for Republicans to raise their taxes. What's more, small businesses will suffer thanks to these taxes. As many of you have already reported, small business owners have expressed concern over these new taxes. The vast majority of services taxed here are performed by local small businesses. These North Carolinians, with only a couple of employees trying to build their own businesses and live the American dream, are the ones that will be most affected. They were hit hardest by the recession, and they have been the slowest to recover. The new tax system, focusing on consumption tax over income taxes, places an undue burden on small businesses and families.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Woodard. I represent Senate District 22, Caswell, Durham, and Person counties. March has come in like a lion, and it is taking a bite out of the budgets of North Carolina's working families. These families are taking on the burden of generating tax revenue for the state, while the wealthiest families benefit from the new tax scheme. Beginning today, Republic taxes go into effect on services we use every day, from oil changes and car washes to appliance installations, even camera and computer repairs. We Democrats fought against this new tax scheme in the budget last year, pointing out the direct impact these tax shifts would have on already tight family budgets. But with the Republican majority and with the governor's support, our hands were tied to offer relief to North Carolina's families. What we can do now is urge voters to stay informed. We don't want these new Republic taxes hitting your wallets unknowingly. Be prepared for the additional strain that is going to be put on your budget and plan accordingly. These taxes include a 6 to 7% increase in labor costs for car repairs, plumbing services, floor installations, shoe repairs, car wash services, clothing alterations, even blade sharpening. These are small services that can take North Carolina families by surprise, but these seemingly small changes make a big impact both to family budgets and to the state's budget. In short, the Republican budget, with its flawed tax scheme, is nickel and diming North Carolina's middle and low-income families.
Thank you, Senator Woodard, and I'm Democratic Leader Larry Hall. I represented District 29 in Durham County. And again, this is the dawn of the new tax regime here in North Carolina, but it's the same old story. Republicans have claimed that the hardship that comes with these new sales tax increases is offset by an income tax cut. But in reality, this plan is, in short, just another bait and switch. Another classic robbing Peter to pay Paul. And we know who always ends up being Peter, who gets robbed, and who ends up being Paul, who gets paid. The top 1% of earners get a tax cut of $2,000. Meanwhile, low-income families are seeing an increase in their tax bill in April through a regressive flat rate that leaves low-income earners losing more of their income every year. Now Republican lawmakers are talking about making further tax cuts in the upcoming session. More loss in revenue and deepening cuts to our bare bones budget that will once again hurt low-income earners, our working families in North Carolina, while those at the top will continue to get more tax breaks. So there's been rumor of a Carolina comeback. Some people say, well, maybe it's stalled. Well, it hadn't stalled. Middle-class families and working families in North Carolina haven't seen it, haven't gotten a whiff of it. It's not even close. They've been left behind in this so-called recovery. And it has been clear that the sacrifice of many has resulted in resurgence for North Carolina's elite only. It's easy to pander to voters around election time. There will be every promise in the world. Smokescreen benefits to the middle-class families, and this is imperative. Voters must pay attention. They must look past the smokescreen, past the bait and switch, and understand the long-term implications of this unbalanced tax system. More breaks to the rich and out-of-state corporations, more burden for working families in North Carolina. Now, these sales taxes on working families should not be used to pay for another income tax for the wealthy, elite, and out-of-state corporations here in North Carolina. It's simply irresponsible. And North Carolina working families are paying the price. We can't afford to continue doing this and have North Carolina survive. We're losing our working families, we're losing our middle class, and our working poor are subsidizing big tax cuts for the well-to-do. We'll take any questions. Yes, sir.
Representative Hall, you mentioned, they're going to be proposing more tax cuts coming up. I know one of them they're looking at is raising the zero income bracket. Are you saying that y'all will oppose that, or?
Well, no, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's the typical bait and switch. We claim we're having a discussion that's going to help folks, and then when we take a longer-term view and do the analysis after everyone's gone home, the result is working families and the poor are paying a larger share of the burden, and those who need help the least are getting the $2,000 tax cut. So, again, that is the usual strategy to say we're going to do something to help, but in the final analysis, and that's why we're saying we want the voters to pay attention, make sure they look at their budgets and what they're paying, and when they go in the shop, when they go to get their cars repaired, they get their oil changed, they get their tires rotated, they get their air conditioning or heating system looked at, understand that's that hidden tax we're talking about that starts today. So I hope you got your tire rotations done. I hope you got your car repairs done. I hope you got all that. I hope you don't have to have a car towed and repaired. I hope you don't have to have any of that. As a matter of fact, I think this might be proof that Republicans really do believe in public transportation, because they're making it impossible for people to operate individual vehicles. Yes,
My car repaired back in December. Had to get new struts.
But you had to take a loan so you could pay it off over time and still pay less than.
I had to pay a lot more this time for new struts this month than I would have in December.
Senator Rucho said this morning, I think it was a direct quote, every family in every bracket is seeing lower taxes under our plan.
Can I speak to this?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've heard Senator Rucho say that. He says you could look in every North Carolinian will see it in their paycheck. For most North Carolinians, they're going to need a magnifying glass to find the tax cuts Senator Rucho touts. If you look at North Carolina's median income, which is about, I think I wrote it down, 38,000, Terry's got my sheet. But if you look at the middle 20% of North Carolinians' families, that income range is from $38,000 to $55,000. The tax cut that they receive is, you can look at two different reports. One said $45, we've seen estimates as high as $60. That's it. The middle 20% of North Carolinians, 10% around the median, will see an income tax of about tax cut of about $60. You get paid every 2 weeks. Where's that? $2 every paycheck? You go into and get a car repair, and we saw the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that a family that earns $38,000 a year will spend about $630 a year in car repair and maintenance. That's taxed now. Assume a third of that's labor. That's about $15 extra new taxes a year. If you get a $50 tax cut, the first 15 of that's going on your just maintaining your car. You get your shoe repaired, you need a computer repair, you buy a new refrigerator, Rucho's $60 tax cut is gone. Is gone. So, I'm sorry, it's not there. You need a magnifying glass to see it in your paycheck, and you're losing it with this tax scheme that took effect today. Yes, sir.
So, as I understand this new sales tax, a portion of the local tax, or the local option add-on, is going to be distributed through this formula to benefit more rural counties than urban counties. Does that continue to be a concern for you guys, that somebody who's getting their car repaired in Wake County, 2-3% of that is not going to serve any services or government stuff in Wake County?
Absolutely, particularly since when we asked about the formula, we were told it was a secret. So, folks in Buncombe County aren't going to see any of that revenue. And that's definitely a concern to me.
Let me have my sheet there too. I'll speak. No, that's okay. I'll let you borrow it. And if you compare, again, you all have heard me before on this, representing an urban county and two smaller rural counties. Median household income in Durham is $52,000. Caswell County is $35,000. That's a pretty big gap in my district alone. Are the Durham fees going to be able to help Caswell County folks a lot? Caswell County folks are going to have to get their car repaired and pay roughly the same prices that my constituents in Durham are going to pay. So the charges are the same. Shoe repair is the same. Getting your knife sharpened is the same. The taxes are the same. So how does it help? We had other options. You all know we talked about this when we talked about the budget. There were many other options we had for redistributing the sales tax. This was not the best way to do it, but again, our ideas were shut out. And the majority and the governor embraced this scheme of redistributing tax income from the urban counties to the rural counties. There was a better way to do it. This was not the way to do it.
One final point to make. As we talked about the reason, and again, it's been referred to as a scheme, this whole tax plan, and that's probably an accurate description. But one of the reasons that people said, well, we'll shift these taxes to low-wealth counties and areas of the state so we can help them out. Now, we're saying that on one hand, while at the same time, we've eviscerated all of the organizations and additional support that was provided to communities, whether it was for their infrastructure or business location or other things that truly could have helped these businesses grow, reductions in education funding that would have helped them develop workforce. So we're really not making up for the damage we're doing to our local counties, to our local towns and communities by the other cuts we're making. And this, again, is a fig leaf to cover up what's really going on. So again, we're into the bait and switch. We're giving you a minuscule benefit, while at the same time, don't watch what we're doing with the other hand as we cut away all of the support you could have for your community to truly grow and prosper and benefit.
And that question wasn't even a Republican-Democrat question last year. It was an issue in the Republican caucus. That was negotiated in the Republican caucus so that you could keep two of the leading members, thought leaders on this happy. So that was their compromise, not ours.
For clarification, because I'm actually just not hearing about this. So what's happening is they're implementing a regressive flat tax and replacing it with sales tax, and they're raising the taxes for services in order to cover the costs that they just slashed.
Well, I think the better way to term it is they're raising the sales tax to pay for the loss of revenue from income taxes and telling you that you're paying less, when in fact, as Senator Woodard has accounted, you're paying more, and their plan is to find a way to make you pay even more this cycle, so they continue the reductions in the income tax. Yes, sir.
This may be a follow-up to Barry's question, because I don't know that I understood the answer, but the only concrete plan I've heard for this year from Senator Rucho and from Speaker Moore is an increase in the zero tax bracket. Right now, I think it's 15.5, and they've talked about 16, 16.5, 17, 18, whatever they can get it to. Would you support that? Because obviously that's going to lead to a loss in revenue. Would you support that, or do you think that's going to come along with a lot of other things that aren't good? And so, I mean,
I think the statement is almost the same as it was to Barry when he asked the question. That is a discussion point. If we go based on what their record has been and the effects of it, we see that anytime that happens, it's offset by a greater loss in spending power and available revenue for working families and poor families in North Carolina. And the lion's share of the benefits continue to go to the top, out-of-state corporations, the rich and powerful. So we know you can put whatever label you want on it initially for discussion, but we know when that budget hits the floor, when that finance package hits the floor, and you've got 5 minutes to try to find all the tricks in there, at the end of the day, when we're out of session and the examination and review is done, we're going to continue, they will be continuing the same trend that has revealed itself so far.
Just wanted to follow up on the question of regressive taxes, or sales taxes. So the argument that Senator Rucho has made is that basically the economy has changed very much, and that 70% of spending at this point is on services and not on goods. And our sales tax, as it's currently set up, doesn't capture that revenue. What would if you don't think that we should expand the sales tax to capture where people are spending money, where do you think we should get the money that we need?
Well, and I don't want to give too many answers on this, but first of all, let's talk about where we were in the redistribution of taxes that happened, of tax liability that happened. So when you start off saying we need revenue, but then you give a massive tax break to those at the top of the food chain, at the top of our income ladder, where was your concern for the need for revenue then? We start off right there. And so that's the trend we've had over and over again, and that's also been stated, that they plan to try to have additional income tax cuts this cycle. And so I don't think we have to start off with a fictional point in time and say, well, we are where we are now, we don't know how we got here, but because we are here, let's find a way for everybody to pay some or pay more or pay less. It's not an equal distribution of the tax cuts. It's not an equal distribution of the benefits that come out of this budget, and it's not an equal opportunity for people to get in and bring ideas to solve the issue. So I just have a little bit of aversion to the idea that we need to reduce the tax burden on the least of these, but in order to do it, we have to maximize the reduction in the tax burden on those who have the most on a continuing basis.
Well, and I'd also like to add that at the time when we started talking about broadening the tax base, we also had an earned income tax credit. And that was a way that we recognized the fact that people at the lower income groups, that they paid a larger percentage of their income in consumption taxes. And we've eliminated the earned income tax credit. So, this just is not fair to working class families.
All right.
thank you all.
Thanks.